What is up, everybody? I am your legendary commander, and welcome back to Between the Stars. So, we are now starting the campaign after the epic epilogue, or epic. I mean, I hate being forced into that, and I kind of figured that was kind of how it was going to go, but, you know, I mean, it wasn't bad. So, it's our chance now to pick a ship. I don't know if it has anything to do with factions yet. Haven't looked at any of it. But I wanted to start a new video with this versus finishing up on the last one going into here. So to cover this first bit, it's pretty simple. You're picking a ship that you actually want to fly. I went for looks versus characteristics, where you can actually gauge them all on the characteristics, as you can see on the right side of the screen, weapons that come with them, colors, and emblems. You're also picking a special ability. You then go ahead and get to create your own character, and when you create your character, you can give them their own name. I chose Commander, and it's not bad of a character creator, but it definitely has a lot of room to work. I had a lot of trouble making anything, but I always have trouble making characters in these games, so really didn't do much for the creation, I guess. I spent a lot of time, just didn't create much. Alright, so we're actually finally in the game. What are we going to find?
Captain, we're in the sectors adjacent to Tacet Stella. The War Council will not be held for another 2 days.
Understood, May. We'll take advantage of the downtime to supply our ship and patrol the area. Input coordinates to the nearest space station.
No need, Captain. Our power levels will let us fly for at least another 2 weeks.
We've spoken about this, May. The crew is exhausted. They've been eating nothing but synthetic proteins for a month. They need a breather.
Aye, Captain. Coordinates set.
So essentially, in the beginning of the game, it lets you kind of free roam. It doesn't pit you in anything at all. You simply exist. And sadly, I missed some protonite actually floating just above me in that wreckage earlier. So this first thing that was right in front of me, when I first started, this was the first thing I spotted, was this distress signal. And in this distress signal, I'm not sure if everybody will run into the exact same one. It may be random, but it was my first event, and I felt this one, of all of the events that I've done, relatively held a little more story to it. So we're going to go ahead and kind of follow this story a little better. And, well, you know, this is what the video is mainly about today. The distress signal coupled with lights which were still online confirmed the power system tab. Oh, power system was undamaged. Your terminal lights up, and the crewmate Garrett, or whatever, gives his report on the situation. Captain, the ship's crew is unresponsive to our incoming transmission. We'll keep a safe distance until further orders. Withdrawal is not worth the risk. We must answer the distress signal. Get the suits ready, we're going in. Arguably we should go in this case. If they're not responding, we're going in.
Head to the target.
The coupling request has not been confirmed, so the only viable route was to force the hatch open. The antechamber leading to the interior of the ship would make sure a complete decompression was avoided. A well-chosen safety measure to ensure rescue was possible in the case of an opening system failure. Your crew gets to work and exits the ship with their spacesuits on. In but 1 hour, the machinery is positioned and ready to force the opening hatch as if it were made of tin. Alright. You board the ship and make sure the power flow is stable. Upon confirmation from the engineers and receipt of the toxicity regarding the scientist, you proceed through the decompression room and remove your helmets to continue investigating. You traverse the corridors with caution, alert to any signals that might imply imminent danger. Silence, absolve silence. Not even the slightest sound comes from any of the rooms you leave behind. This was baffling. The ship was in good shape even though the crew had disappeared. We hope that at least the Maya system would shed some light on what happened. No, we stick together. Following your orders, the crew takes position. You go through the corridors together in search of clues or signals until a snap behind a hatch puts you on alert. You raise your hand to indicate the crew following you that you are going to enter. You activate the opening of the hatch and the room access opens widely. You enter the room, which is in complete darkness, and starts up the lights. A repugnant smell assaults you from the interior, but you are not able to identify the origins. You push forward, examining the terminal in search for any trace of survivors. But it seems that, like the Maya system, is inoperative, dispersing any possibility of finding something in the logs to smoke. Why would we want to smoke? I don't get it. You are in the middle of the operating a terminal when you hear a smash followed by some screams behind you. You turn around and observe in horror as Lamb falls to the ground. Meanwhile, the attacker, gripping a stone the size of a not-so-small book covered in your crew member's blood, looks at you with eyes wide open. Well, this just ain't right. Poor Halo Lamb. There's something wrong here. We're shooting him. Without a word, you open fire against the stranger, scattering his brains all over the room's floor. Lamb gets up with some difficulty and raises his hand to his head. You see his face and shoulder covered in blood, gushing out of his gash inflicted upon him, but miraculously he was alive. I'm a bit dizzy, Captain, but at least I'm alive. I did not realize he was behind me until he struck me with whatever that thing is supposed to be. You glance at the strange corpse and notice that what he carried in his hands, rather than a stone, it seems to be some kind of tile or tablet that is now covered in blood. Let's return to the ship. The medical team must do a checkup on you. You turn around towards the ship when you hear a voice coming from behind. Apparently one of your crew members was calling for you. No one said a thing, sir. Suddenly you feel your hands grow heavy and look down at them. The same stone that the man was clinging on to before was executed is now in your hands. You do not remember when exactly it is you picked it up, but you can see that it's some sort of tablet. Let's head back to the ship. This is giving me a migraine. That tablet needs to go right now. Alright, we have a tablet. We need to get on it right now. I just have it recovered from a looter ship. Although we need to get rid of that now. That's already whispering in my ears. I don't know if you heard that. And just a full jump up. During your adventure, while you might like to waste time, you'll find that you'll actually be interdicted in the middle of warp speeds. And you'll be dragged out and forced to fight. So far, I've never had an encounter that was bad, but they can be a bit of an annoyance.
Activate the shields! All hands to battle stations!
Shields up. Full power to weapons. Fire, 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 fire. Activate the rapid fire. Rotate ship, give it the bottom. Ship to
enemy ships has been destroyed.
Use the rear shields where we have the opportunity. So unlike the epilogue, where you could fly around as much as you want without actually getting punished for it, you will be punished here in this. It will send ships to attack you basically every once in a while to force you out of warp, damage your ship, basically spice up your travels. At least for now, I relatively shrug these attacks off, but they do get to be a bit of an annoyance, well, because they're so easy to shrug off. They're not that much of a threat. Now that being said, that's not the only thing going on here. Throughout the game, you basically get to go ahead and help your crew and develop skills for your captain as well as your team. So all the people aboard your ship, they do learn and advance with you, while your character itself, your captain, also grows and develops, which makes your crew in general all a much better crew, or possibly a much worse crew, depending on the decisions you make. In this case, where you particularly come down to find a crew member that is training, practicing, but can't seem to shoot, and so they decide to ask for help, or I suggest to offer help, and basically I teach the character how to fight and help, and making them a more effective team member. Now, docking on stations hasn't changed much. Essentially, you land on the station, you click the dot, and, well, you go do whatever the action is at the dot. Particularly the hangar takes you back to the hangar. The red dot is your exit, and, like, the commercial zone exists. But they've also added other things, such as the occasional thing like the amusement park, which was a goal or thing basically my character needed to go to. Basically, this was to give the crew a long rest that they very much needed. And then there was also the arcade, which allows you to do training simulations, which I have yet to complete, but they have been relatively fun. Kind of a combat D&D situation with a few other little bonuses and stuff, and I found it very interesting. One of the most popular tourist attractions. Enjoy the view of space or spend the day in incredible amusement parks. Tesla Walk is a must-see for the tourists who arrive at the space station. The food stalls and local commerce prepares the long walk that ends in a small amusement park. On one of its sides, there is a giant window that lets people see outer space during the whole route. After all the adventure is experienced, both you and your crew deserve a break. We should definitely get food first. Let's get food. The aroma of the street stalls open your appetite. Throughout the walk, you find small shopkeepers who offer you to try their products, trying to attract customers. Among all these people, a man catches your attention, cooking a plate with blue flames that rise almost high enough to touch the roof of the place. You enter the room and you sit down at a table. An affable man attends you, and the dishes start arriving. Once you have finished, the man returns to your approach with a bottle and shot glass to distribute them amongst the diners. We didn't order any shots. The man turns to you with a smile on his face. Don't worry, Captain. With the time that the Republic's going through, enjoy yourselves. The most important than ever is on the house. Well, everybody might like to drink. I'm not a drinker. So, you shouldn't be so modest, Captain. There's no harm in having a bit. He's very pushy. The man turns his gaze towards the shot. If you're worried about the alcohol, don't be afraid. I can assure you that our local liquor, as delicious as it is, also especially mild. Make him drink it first, that'd be funny. And then he kills himself like the Mass Effect dude. Alright, if you insist, cheers. Go on, you first. No, we don't really need any shots. I mean, the crew can order their own alcohol. Nervous Sweater removes the shots. You just finished eating and you get up from the table. The man insists on inviting you and after the suspicious interest in making you drink, he should thank you for not harassing him on the spot. You got out of the street, which is much clearer now than it was earlier when it was full of people. It's time for you guys to go. Now that's really kind of it at the moment, and that was an intriguing little event. And you'll run into random events all over the station. Sometimes you don't even realize it, but events are playing out behind closed doors. Or kinda, quotation marks, are happening, but you know, they make events happen. And then say like, oh, because you landed on the station, this happened. So there are things like that that will happen, and you won't even know they're happening sometimes. It's pretty cool. I really do enjoy this, but we're going to go ahead and get rid of the tablet because this thing is creeping me out. Because multiple times will it make up where it winds up being there with you, as well as being, and by the way, I have no idea what these things are, but I scrapped them all. I didn't know what they were, but I scrapped them and gained some resources back by doing it, and I picked up more from other ships, so it's really weird that I come across them. I guess they're empty crates, but basically the tablet is showing up randomly. It's making, like, how did it show up in my hands? It's controlling people. And while the results don't sound right, it sounds like there was something more to the tablet. I'm getting rid of this thing because whatever this is doing, I don't want to have this problem. I don't care if it's got magical properties, it's fucking with us. And I want the safety of my crew and me. We also need to fix this ship. You descend to the ship dining room full of energy despite everything that happened over the past few weeks. You're feeling exceptionally well for the first time in a while. The hours of sleep have become especially restorative. You enter the room with a spring in your step. Inside, some of the crew say hi, while a lamb is serving the tray with the ration. Surprised, you stare at the dish of the dehydrated protein that looks much better than usual. It's probably due to hunger, but as soon as you swallow the first spoonful, you can feel a clear improvement in the taste. Lamb is a bit surprised. We have changed the protein brand, Captain. There were none of the usual brands left in the last warehouse Wilson and I visited when resupplying the ship. We thought it wouldn't make much of a difference, but I'm glad you liked them. Good. From now on, I think we'll buy these. They're not that bad. Yeah, I think we'll just get these. Catch yourself grabbing seconds. Food on a warship was not meant to be exceptionally good beyond providing all the necessary nutrients. Finding a non-perishable food source that also had more taste than wet paper
had been a great find, and as the crew speaks, you stay thoughtful until Wilson addresses you, returning you back into reality. What is that, Captain? You look towards the direction Wilson is looking at, and you see the ancient tablet that you rescued from the abandoned ship just a few days ago. On the table, maybe one of the crew members could clarify what it is. I'm gonna just... yeah, I don't even like this thing. I have no idea where it may have come from, but I have some who might. An old partner of mine runs an antique shop in Fort Melody. Maybe he could lend a hand. That got you curious. The tablet itself was not particularly remarkable apart from the engraving and the ancient appearance, but there was the possibility that it was much more valuable than it seemed. If it was some lost treasure worth a fortune, it wouldn't hurt to know. It is something that keeps me up at night. We're gonna get rid of it. There we go. Now let's go visit the antique shop, and then we'll probably call this one. You open the antique shop door, and here are the bells hanging on the frame ring. The frame ring. The shop was not dissimilar from what you have imagined. It's like the dust piles up over almost 100 extravagant-looking objects. You walk the halls with a tablet. You open a tablet in your hands while you look at some of the antiques. You never paid special attention to antiques, but it was hard not to be curious about where they came from. The man comes out with a friendly smile. Hello, how can I help you with something? Hello, can I help you with something? Greetings, I'm Commander, Captain of the Interstellar Republic. The man seems somewhat surprised. Captain, what were you brought to my store? One of my crew said that maybe you could help me. Man arched an eyebrow as you explain what happened, and the tablet leads you to the back room where he seems to have a small workshop on a wall. You can see a large magnifiers and other restoration tools, a mud picking up a few books from central table. Everything wants to be tablets. To make room for the tablet, pulls out a magnifying glass and a flashlight and brushes from a sheath and begins to check the tablet carefully. The man remains silent and completely paralyzed. Wow, for a second I thought it was something big. I'm sorry to disappoint you, Captain, but there's no doubt that this is a forgery of exceptional quality. So you know what this is about. A rather convincing recreation of a ceremonial tablet in the ancient tribe known as... okay, basically, since long ago, before the appearance of space travel. Can't tell you much more, only about a dozen remain civilizations has been found. All we know about them has been thanks to transcriptions of a handful of anthropological texts collected from ancient ethos libraries. More about do you think anyone might be interested? No. Not stupid. I guess we're gonna say that anyway. It's not like I'm a specialist and tell you the truth. I don't think there exists an expert on the subject. Gotcha. So basically he's gonna tell me all this stuff. So, do you think there's anything of interest? Amongst some of the clients are reputable historians who would pay a fortune for a real piece. Being such a high quality forgery, you could surely find some interested buyer, but at an astronomically low amount. Best I can do is 500. So I could try and swindle him for more. Let's see if we can swindle him for more. Ah, critical fail! Without giving it much thought on his size. Sorry, Captain. As I said, okay, basically he's not going to. Sold, you can have it. I don't want it. It makes weird noises. Let's get out of here.
So guys, that's pretty much what you do at the beginning of this game. There's a lot of investigating and just kind of goofing off in the beginning, getting your feet wet, learning about things. That's what the game is trying to do offhand, and then you're going to step into the actual game with an action campaign. Now, I did a lot more exploring and adventuring before I got into the campaign. I actually randomly stumbled the campaign forward, but we will show that at a later date. In the meantime, right now, that's going to be it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button. I promise audio quality should be better in the next couple videos. But y'all take care, and I'll catch you next time.